Okay, so guys, I know you requested me to update this next game in C for increasing length, but I know I did a lot of delay for like 6 to 8 months for that, but still, finally, here I am with this. Now, I'll be using the same good old graphics.h file. There will be not much difference between the previous one and this one. I'm just changing some logic here and there and adding some arrays for the increasing length and the whole coordinate of the body. I'll be teaching you from the basics and from the scratch. If you have not seen my previous video, then no need to worry, you can just see this and you are good to go. So let's start. First, I will start by setting up the graphics.h file. I have provided the zip file in the descriptions and also some commands. Now first extract this folder. You will get these 4 files. Now the readme file is of no use actually. Now select these 2 header files, copy it, and we'll be pasting these folders to go to the code blocks folder, go to the min.gw folder and include. Now in include all the header files are stored. Now you have to just paste it here. Now go back and copy the A file. The name is something libbgi or whatever. Now copy this file and then again go to the code blocks folder. Now this time go to the lib section, the lib, that is the library folder, and paste it here. Now the files are set to go. Now in the code blocks, go to the settings, compiler, the linker settings, and this will be actually blank for you. You have to click add. Now open the dialog box, go again back to your code blocks folder and go to the lib folder. Now search here for the same name libbgia. Now select this file and click on open. This path should appear here. Now this will be actually blank for you. So just copy the commands given in the description and paste it here. Now click on OK. Now the graphics.h file is ready to go. Now I'll be including total 5 header files. So let's just give the include syntax here. Now just copy it and paste it for 4 more times. Now the libraries will be using are obviously the graphics.h file, time.h, stdio obviously, and Windows, and the last one is standard library stdlib. After this, I'll be defining the prototype of a function called endfunc, that is the end function. Now whenever the condition will be satisfied for the death of the snake, this function will be executed. Now the parameters here are int a and int. Okay, so the first one is e and the second one is a. Now actually you don't need to type the variables here, you can just type like this also, but it's a good practice to mention the variable. The compiler will just ignore it, but at least you know which variables are being used. Now let's start with the main function. Now I'll be defining some variables here. Those are int, gd, gm. Now gd and gm are the variables for the Windows. Rx equals 200 and ry equals 200, that is the position of the food. So x and y are the coordinates. Now for the snake I'll be using another x and y variable with an array of size 200. Now you can set this to anything you like, as long do you want the snake to be. Now if you set it even 2000 it's okay, but I have myself not reached beyond 40, 60 or whatever, so it doesn't matter much. Now after these definitions of variables, I'll be declaring the whole array of x and y to 0. So I'll be using a for loop int I equals 0, I is less than 200 and I plus plus. So this is the basic for loop, and initializing everything to 0. So now the array will be initialized to 0. Now I'll be defining some other variables also for food, direction, position, etc. So f1 will be the number of food intake and also the score. Okay, so chk variable equals 200 for checking. Okay, let's keep it to 700. And then dir equals 1. And the last variable length for the length of the snake. So basically at the starting it will be obviously 1. Now f is the score, chk the checking variable, dir is the history direction. The direction which will be pressed on the keyboard will be stored in d, and whatever which was pressed in the past, that is the last past history, will be stored in dir. Now I'll be explaining in the main loop, so just wait for that. Now I'll be defining the graph. So this is the basic syntax. There is nothing too much understand here, so you can just type it like this, whatever is it, and you will be good to go. Now I'll be setting the fill style color to 1, 1. Now set fill style is nothing but the method to set the colors which will be used while drawing on the graphics window. So let's just set to 1, 1. Now after this I'll be setting the x and y coordinate of the snake's head to 200 and y coordinate also to 200. Now I will be setting d equals 1. Thus whenever the snake starts, it will always go to the right direction, because in the logic I'll be defining d equals 1 to be right. Now after this I'll be starting the main for loop in which all the logic will be executed. Now this for loop should occur infinitely. The breaking conditions will be set by us only. Now let's set the fill style to let's say 1, 0. So 1, 0 is the black color, and I'll be drawing a bar over the whole screen. So this will be doing nothing but just drawing a whole big black box over the entire screen. Now entire screen doesn't mean the whole screen, but just the window in which graphics is working. So after this let's just see what's coming up. Okay, so there is an error, is stdio. Okay, so whatever, and another error. So okay, we forgot a comma, and no errors. Okay, so let's see what starts. So as you can see here, the graphics window is opening. Now in the graphics window we'll be putting a 4-sided border for the snake so that it cannot go beyond that. Now the border will be defining by similarly bars. Now I'll be setting the fill style to 1, 2. Now 1, 2 is for green. Now you can select these styles by anything. Now for the boundaries I will be defining 4 bars. Now the bars coordinates are as follows. You can just note it and take it. So they are okay, so let's just run this once, and it's coming, but it's actually flashing very fast because the loop is executing too fast. You can just fix this by adding a delay of say 100 milliseconds, and if you run this you can see the flashing has gone, but it's still flashing a little bit. You can stop this by increasing the delay, but if you increasing the delay the game will get slower, and if you decrease the delay the game will get faster, obviously. So let's just remove the delay for a while, and let's start the logic for the food. Now we have to make the food first appear on the screen. I'll be doing this by a do while loop. So the while condition is get pixel rx comma ry not equal to 0 and rx should be greater than 10 and also ry should be greater than 10, then the loop should be executing. Now getPixel is nothing but the coordinate should be actually existing on the graph. It should not be like 10,000 or 220,000 or anything like that which doesn't even exist on the screen. So when the condition would be satisfied, the do loop will be executing continuously. So I'll be setting the coordinates of the food by ry and rx. Okay, so let's keep rx and ry for continuity. Then the coordinates will be given as 1 plus rand for the random function modulo 630, and similarly for y I'll be doing random modulo 470. Okay, so this will give a number between 630 and 470. After this, okay, so before that the food should actually appear on the screen. Now for that, the food will be appearing whenever the snake has taken the food and at the beginning. So for that I'll be defining that whether if the snake has landed on the food, then the food should disappear and a new food should reappear. I can do this by if x of 0, that is the head of the snake, is equal to rx and y equals 0, that is the y coordinate of the head of the snake, should be equal to ry, that are the coordinates of the food. If this is satisfied, then length will be equal plus equals 1, f equals, okay, so f plus equals 1, set fill style to 1, 0, and drawing a black bar over the food so that the food disappears. So it will be rx, ry, rx plus 10 and then ry plus 10. So this will be making the food disappear. Now this if loop should be executed till here. Okay, now after the coordinates are obtained, if you see carefully, then the random function may return any value between 1 to 630. It may be 57 or 48, but we want a multiples of 10 so that the whole graph will be distributed in 10 boxes. So it doesn't happen that the snake's head is halfway over the food. It should be exactly aligned. For that I'll be simply doing multiplication and division. So let's consider the rx value turns out to be 48. So if we divide rx by 10, as rx is an integer, the number will become 4 of 48, because 4.8 will not be stored in an integer, only 4 will be stored, and I will be multiplying it again by 10. So rx will be equal to 48, 48 by 10 will be equal to 4 for an integer, and if we multiply again into 10, then it will be result 40, thus only round figures will be appear. Now similarly we'll be doing this for ry also. Now we'll be setting the fill style back to 1, 1. Okay, so it's green for 1, 2, and after this if loop we'll be drawing actually the food. So the food bar is bar rx, ry, rx plus 10, ry plus 10. Now let's run this if it's working. Okay, we again got a error here. Okay, so I just missed it. It happens sometimes. It's okay, it doesn't matter much. Okay, so as you can see here, the food is appearing. It's flashing, but I have removed the delay, but it's working fine. It doesn't matter much now here. It will be mattering afterwards. So after the bar is created, we'll be taking the inputs from the keyboard and storing it into the D variable. So the logic for that is I'll be using a nested if else. So if get async key state, if that is vk write, then d will be equal to 1. Now here, while typing this, the capital cases of get, a and key s should not change, and vk write should be in capital because it is obviously case sensitive. So just note of that, and I'll be creating the nested if else, and similarly I will be defining for other directions also. So let's just copy paste it and copy this if else for 2 more times, and the logic will be for vk left. Similarly for up key it will be up, and for down key it will be down. And the directions in the d that will be stored are d is equals to 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now if none of the keys was pressed, then d will be set equals to 0. Now after this, the key values will be stored in the d as an integer. Now after this is done, I will be using a switch statement over d. Now this will contain the actual logic of executing the change in positions in the snake. Now the case 0 is the most important, that when no key is pressed. So the case 0 will be as follows. If dir, that is the history in which the key was pressed as the past state, the following will be executed. X is equals to 0 equals x of 0 plus 10. Now what this means is that if the old position of d was equal to 1, we will be storing it in dir, and if dir was equal to 1, the snake will be continuing to move in the right direction only by a position of 10s. Now similarly, if using a nested if else, dir was equal to 2, then it should move backwards. So the left is for dir2. Similarly, just copy paste it, and we'll be doing it for 3 and 4, and we'll be doing it for y coordinates also. Now the last condition, if is no key is pressed, then d will be equal to 0. Now this logic statement is for the continuation of the key. If you don't press any key, and if you previously pressed right key only, then the snake should move to the right direction. For that, exactly this is the logic, in which dir is the variable which stores the history. Now after this, we'll be using another cases for 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now these are very simple switch cases. If right key was pressed, then the d value will be equal to 1, and x of 0, that is the head of the snake, should move by a position of 10. So simply x of 0 is equals to x of 0 plus 10. Now we'll be setting its history as dir equals 1 and breaking the switch statement. Now similarly, we'll be doing it for case, just copy it, and case 2, 3 and 4. Now here the directions will be also equal to 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so the case is not 14, 4 obviously. And similarly, we'll be setting it for the change in positions also, and this is for y, and it is y minus 10, and this also. So we are completed with the logic here. Now after this, I am going to define some logic to transfer the position of the head to its body. Now as the length is increasing, there are total 2 logics to define here. One is that when the snake moves one by position, the other whole body should move to that position also. So while printing all over the window, each and every part of the body should be considered, whatever the length may be. And another logic to be defined is if the snake moves by a position of 10 to the right, then each and every coordinate of the past body should be defined accordingly, that it should also move to the 10th position. Now while using the snake would go up, down, and left and right, so it will be all a big mess. So we had to define a specific loop. Just making each and every coordinate by plus 10 would not work. So the logic goes like this: for int I equals 0, I will be less than equal to length and I plus plus. Now in this loop, the logic will be defined to draw the snake over the screen. So I will be using a bar, and the coordinates of snakes are x and I, y of I. Similarly, to draw the box, obviously x of I plus 10 and y of I plus 10. Now the logic is defined for drawing the box through a loop. Now I'll be define another logic to transfer the coordinates to its body in each cycle. So for that I'll be using another loop, but instead of passing the coordinates from the head to the end, I'll be doing it from the tail to the head. So I should start from 199, that is the end of the array, and I should be greater than 0 and obviously I minus minus. Now x of I, that is the first coordinate, will be equal to x of I minus 1th coordinate, and similarly I will be doing it for y also. So y of I will be equal to y of I minus 1th coordinate. Now I'll be after this adding a delay for the snake, and then I'll be defining after this the logic that when the snake will die. So the first logic is if the snake, so let's just run this and let's see what appears. Okay, so we have gotten an unnecessary component. Let's see. Okay, so it's running perfectly fine. Now as you can see here, the snake is coming, but it just went outside the box. The coordinates went way over, but it's working fine. Now these boundaries, as soon as the snake strikes this boundary, the snake should die. So the logic for that is if x of 0 equals x of chk and y of 0 will be equal to y of chk, then the end function will be executed. Now this is nothing but if the snake bumps into itself, and it will break the loop. Now another condition is if the snake goes outside the boundary. The conditions are if x of 0 is greater than or equal to 640, that is the size of the boundaries, or x of 0 is less than or equal to 0, that is the starting boundaries. Similarly, we'll be defining for y coordinate also, less than 0 or y of 0, that is the head, is greater than 480. Okay, so this is fine. Now if this condition is satisfied, and function will be executed and the variables f, 0 will be passed. Now f is the score and 0 is if the variable bumps into a boundary, then 0 will be passed, and if it bumps into itself, then 1 will be passed. So accordingly the message would appear for it. Okay, so before anything, I forgot to put a square brackets here, so it's fine. Now we need to define what this chk variable will be. Now chk variable will be anything that is each and every coordinate of the whole body of the snake. So I'll be defining a for loop for that. So for int I equals to go after the body, I is less than or equal to length and I plus plus, the following loop will be executed. If x of 0, that is the head of the snake, comes be equal to x of I, that is any ith part of the body, and similarly for the y coordinate, if the head of the snake is equal to any y coordinate of the body of the snake, then if both conditions are satisfied, then we'll be setting chk equals I. So if the snake has bumped into itself, we know exactly which part it has bumped into. Now we check same thing outside the loop, that if the same condition is satisfied, then the end function will be executed, and after that it will break the main loop. After this, the only thing we are left to define is the end function. So int end function, the parameters are int e and int a. We'll be setting the fill style to, let's say, 1,5 for pink for the error like screen, then e equals e minus 2 for the food, then I'll be drawing a bar over the whole screen. So the coordinates of the whole screen are 0, 0 and 640, 480. Now after this, I'll be passing a message to the command prompt to clear the screen. So system system cls. So the cls function will be passed in the command prompt to clear it. Now if a was equal to 0, that the snake bumped into a boundary, then we'll be printing the following message: you died outside the boundary. And the other condition is else if a was equal to 1, then the following message will be printed. So printf you died into yourself. So the messages are fine according to me. Now we'll be printing the score that is scored by the user. So printf your score is %d, a new line, and %d is e, that is the score. Now we'll be using a get ch to wait for the input, and after that we'll be using return 0. Now with this, you have completed building the whole game. Now let's run this if any errors are there. So as you can see here, okay, so I think we have some missed the values here. Let me just check for a little bit. Okay, so I have forgot it here, it's not 100, it's 10. And let's run this again. Now still the controls are working weird. I am going left, still it's going to the right. So we have mistake between something here and there. So let's just see to that. Okay, so we forgot to perform the break here. So this should work fine. Now this is exactly working like we wanted. So here is your snake. It's eating and increasing your length. Now congratulations, you made it. And if the snake bumps into itself, then the snake is too small to bump into itself. Now if you bump like this, then something is wrong with you. Now I think the snake is big enough to bump it itself. And as you can see, the whole just screen disappeared. You died into itself and your score is 7. Now let's do the same thing for the snake goes out of the boundary, and let's take it out of the boundary and it died. Okay, so you have done with this. If you like this video, then like, share, subscribe, comment if you face any problem, and you have any ideas for me to execute on my channel, then please tell me in the comments. I'll be doing it as early as possible. So enjoy this. Thank you.